Good day, nerds, and welcome to episode 45 of the Nerd Cantina Show. I'm your host, Ken, joined by the co-host, Steve, and today we're going to cover the weekly news. We're going to begin with our initial thoughts on Apple TV. We've got some news around the Game of Thrones creators, as well as Game of Thrones sequels. There's some new technology in electric car batteries and whether that's going to make that industry a little more palatable for everybody. There's some news around Blizzcon coming out of this last week. And then we're going to go into more of our tech and social talk around Twitter banning political ads and Snowden's concerns around Facebook.
Jam-packed show this week, guys.
All right, let's get to it.
Calling back all nerds. Nerds!
And we're back, and welcome to episode 45 of the Nerd Cantina Show. And to get started with this week, we've got, as always, go check out the YouTube channel if you want to see the latest review. Steve went out and saw Terminator Dark Fate, put his thoughts up there.
Yeah, it's up there. Definitely had some thoughts, so go check it out.
Yeah, so go check out that review. And we can do a little on the fly review now of your initial thoughts of Apple TV as that released November 1st, and you subscribed and got started.
Well, I guess the review is on the service, not necessarily the shows, because I couldn't start any of the shows. Seeing that if you don't have the Apple TV box, you're asked out. So what puzzles me is Amazon has the Fire Stick. But if you don't have a Fire Stick, you could still watch Amazon Prime Video. They're not blackballing you out of the content. They prefer you watch on a Fire Stick, but they have an Xbox app. They have phone apps that you can Chromecast. They just want you watching the content. They don't care how. Apple, in true Apple fashion, with their unique phone chargers and all kinds of accessories that you must buy that will not work with anything fucking else in your house, makes you buy the Apple TV adapter, which if I wanted the 4K version, which of course I would, is about what I essentially the link was $180.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Apple TV 4K edition or whatever.
So in order to be able to send the TV shows, Eyes or the morning show, if you wanted to send that to your TV, you would need that Apple box. Unlike every other fucking service on the goddamn planet. So as I was going to start some of these shows to give some reviews on actual content, I quickly was angered at the fact that the only way now I can watch these shows is on my iPhone unless I spend $180, $140, whatever it was, which is completely dick move, but totally in fashion with Apple.
And not entirely accurate. So for you to do it in the 4K and do it through Apple TV, yes. This is one of the things that drove like the strength of Roku back in the days when all these streaming devices were coming out. And there was the big fight between Amazon and Google, and it drove like Amazon wouldn't let YouTube play it on a Fire Stick, and it was all these things. And Roku became the top selling streaming device. Roku's also still that third party that Apple TV works on Roku devices. You can get a Roku device for $40. They now kind of emerge as this disinterested party that all they're doing is providing streaming services, but they're not in the streaming service game. You could still get a Roku device and stream Apple TV, as that app came out on Roku last week.
So what really pissed me off though is Xbox does have an AirPlay app. So I spent $10 on an Xbox app, which every fucking app on Xbox is free, except for I think the Dolby one and the AirPlay one are the ones I paid for because I wanted that Dolby surround sound. And I have an iPhone, so if I want to be able to send anything from my iPhone that isn't Chromecastable, or I don't have a Chromecast on my TV that I have an Xbox on, so I stream everything through the Xbox. So I bought the AirPlay app. I figured I'd be able to send the show through my Apple AirPlay app on my Xbox. Nope. Fucking blackballed you. Video not available. Start over, douchebag. And that's what really kind of frustrated me. So now, what is that AirPlay app good for? I can see my phone screen on my TV. I can show pictures of my kids to people on my TV who don't even want to see pictures of my kids anyways. it's just really frustrating. They're spending all this money on content. They're hyping these shows. And we were wondering why they, what the details of their service are, were going to be. And I really think it's to sell more of these $130 boxes that probably cost them $5 to make.
Yeah. I mean, they did put their 4K thing on sale for like $99. So you could have bought their Apple TV 4K. Supposedly, I haven't tried it out. If you have the newest generation of Amazon Fire Sticks, it also works on there. I don't have Apple TV, plan on getting it, so I didn't try on my Fire Sticks. But supposedly you are going to be able to watch on other things, and that's until Amazon blacks them out or whatever else, like Amazon did to YouTube and everything else.
What's the point of me having a $10 fucking app on my Xbox from that Apple made, that Apple licensed, that Apple fucking made? Apple put it on the Microsoft and they're blackballing me on it. Like, that's the frustrating part is that I'm trying to use all Apple products. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you want me to bite the Apple core? Like, I'll take it. Here, I got an iPhone. I got the AirPlay app. Let me watch a shitty Jason Momoa show about blind people in the woods and nothing. I got dick.
I got really no answers for you with this app that you have on the Xbox. What I'd say is you don't necessarily have to drop, you or anybody listening, you don't have to drop the $150 or $80.
I'm not trying to drop more than $5. Yeah, you're not just hitting me with the one-time service fee of plugging this thing into my TV. You're also getting me for the monthly too. You fucking greedy bastards! Like, at some point,
did you pay the monthly? Did you sign?
I signed up for the 7-day trial. I was going to try to pound out these shows in 7 days and write some reviews. And now I've wasted 2 days on my fucking trial. Dickheads. So
you talked about it briefly. I might have to sign up for the 7-day just to try to binge a couple episodes of that C show, or whatever the show is with Jason Momoa where he's blind. Only because the initial reviews and the initial things that I saw come out of that is that it is accidentally hilarious.
And we talked about that before when the first trailer broke. Like, how is this show a thing? Like, who greenlit this fucking show?
Like the initial article. I wish I had it pulled up so I could share the link on the show notes. But it was like the initial description of the show was that it was just like awkwardly individuals walking around and just like groping and poking their way through the world. And he's talking about there's even like sex scenes, and that's exactly what the sex scenes are too. It's just
yeah. The minute I watched the trailer, I envisioned what this show could be possibly about and where they would take it. And it instantly, I just kind of was like, why do we make this show? And why is this like the first show? Like, they hype that show more than the Jennifer Aniston news show.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate that I'm willing to almost give Apple TV a subscriber, even if it's only for 7 days. But man, I do kind of want to see it.
I told you I'm gonna try to pound out a few episodes on my phone if I have to, just to be able to shit on that thing.
It looks terrible. Moving out of Apple TV, and we can talk over some other entertainment news. And first, we've got it with Game of Thrones ish news. We have the creators or the showrunners from Game of Thrones, the D&D team, the two Davids. Man, they're no longer attached to Star Wars.
Yeah, they didn't release too many details on like how that went down. Kind of, they always like to save face. The HBO doesn't want to look bad. They don't want to make the producers look bad. But who's going to take this next trilogy? They got Rain out, then they're throwing these dudes out. Like, yeah, is this just good foresight from Disney?
Rain's come out this week saying he's not out. He's still trying to be in this. So you might get yourself more RJ.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out then, motherfuckers. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's I don't know what direction they're planning on taking. They did release at least some idea of a direction that they were going to go with what was going to be the D&D storyline for the next trilogy. Yeah,
they said it was going to be the origin of the Jedi.
Yeah, at which I don't know very much as far as what goes back. Apparently, there's some prior to the days of official canon, or when Disney reset the canon, there was an Origin of the Jedi comic that was out, which is no longer canon. So really, there is some creative license that they could do whatever they want. There's no canon out there that actually explains the origin of the Jedi right now.
And it would have been a fun story. We're getting an Obi-Wan show where they're filling in the gaps of things that people want to know about. Because they do gloss over a lot in the original franchise. So we got the Rogue One movie. It shows how the battle plans got sent. We got the Solo movie that shows actually how you do a Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. And this, we're going to get an Obi-Wan show that fills in the gap between the prequels and the originals. It would have been nice to fill in some more of these origins,
Yeah, and it probably will still happen. Just the D&D team is too busy with that $250 million Netflix deal that they signed, and that's when you get like the comments from Kathleen Kennedy that she talked a bit about it in kind of guarded talk on Twitter or whatever else, but it definitely seemed that it was blamed on the fact that these guys are just too busy, and if they become less busy, they're welcomed back to Star Wars. But you motherfuckers took $250 million from Netflix after saying you were going to help us with Star Wars, and go enjoy your Netflix money.
Yeah, and I mean you can't blame these guys. They got to strike while the iron's hot, make the money,
and they got to produce, right? They better produce something for Netflix.
Yeah, well, you got to make the money while you can too. Especially Hollywood's so fickle that as soon as Game of Thrones comes out of pop culture, no one's going to remember who these dudes were, and they ain't signing no 9-figure contracts.
We staying on that Game of Thrones kind of vibe here. We got news that one of the Game of Thrones prequels was canceled, and that was the prequel that had, what was it? Is it Naomi Watts that was part of that one?
Yeah, that was the one that was going to be 5,000 years ahead of the
Old Westeros.
Yeah,
I actually, that was the one that I think everybody was really talking about. That was the one that people expected to continue. It to me seemed like an interesting direction to go with it, and that one's now been canceled. That's over. And then less than, I think it was like 12 hours later or a day later, they then announced that they were moving forward.
HBO announces new Game of Thrones prequel. It's like, hey, wait, you have to like check the days the articles are written because you just think people are sharing old shit, Yeah, but yeah, they're doing a story. What, the House of Dragons? They're calling it.
Yep.
So it's gonna be. I'm hoping so. Either prequel could give me what I wanted. So I wanted more information on the fall of Valyria. So the Targaryens came from Valyria, so that it could be still in my wheelhouse of what I wanted. Who knows where they're going to take it, where they're going to start it from. I think we had a little bit of Game of Thrones fatigue, especially after the way the last season was so critically, like a lot of people had a lot of opinions about that last season. So I think it'd be good for them to just kind of step back, take a 3 year hiatus, let the dust settle before they put out some more Game of Thrones content.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they need to let the dust settle too long. Even if they started in production now, you're still talking about a release 2 years after the finale. So it should be an okay time. Like you said with D&D, you got to strike while the iron's hot. It doesn't really matter whether people disliked it or not. There's still a massive fan base waiting for the next one. You might as well bring it sooner than later.
Yeah, I just. Like I said, I think a lot of people after that finale are still on the fuck Game of Thrones tip. And, and if you rush this show, you might still lose that audience. But if you let the anger kind of temper down and things like that, I think you'll get your core audience to watch that initial pilot.
Yeah, I think so. Well, in HBO Max, that show is going to be out on HBO Max, and we're starting to hear more about HBO Max, which I still say that they're screwing up this whole branding thing in the sense of, I get HBO you just want to put HBO's name on everything. It is still confusing with HBO Max, HBO Go, HBO Now, all being separate things.
Like, can I cancel my HBO subscription from Hulu? Like, can I just sign up for HBO Max now? Like,
but if you already are an HBO subscriber, you get HBO Max for free.
Yeah, but then I gotta log in, tell you who my cable provider is. I'd way rather just have a Max app that I stream.
And it appears that HBO Max, and I might be wrong on this, but again, it's very difficult to navigate this nonsense. It appears that HBO Max does not give you access to the HBO shows as they're streaming now. If you want that, you need to have Now or Go. So the shows that are on HBO Sunday night, if you want to watch those, an HBO Max subscription doesn't get you those.
Which is fucked up. That's really fucked up. So it's like Netflix, like you got to wait till the season's over, then they put the whole season on the app.
I don't know. I tried to figure this stuff out and figure out where one ends and where one begins, and the only thing I really was able to glean is that Go and Now are not going away. Just Go and Now are attached to bringing you, HBO Now is where you're paying for it without a cable subscription, and Go is still where it's attached to a cable subscription. And then Max is its own separate entity that HBO is now calling it its workhorse, that most of the content is going to be delivered through HBO Max.
I'm just telling you right now, I'm paying $30 a month for all of HBO's content. Like, I'm either watching the weekly shows on my HBO subscription, or I'll cancel my subscription and watch whatever they got on Max. But no Green Lantern show is going to get me to pay $30 a fucking month.
Like I said, if you're paying for the HBO service, the weekly service, you get Max as a part of that. So, I like I said, it's difficult to tell. I think they're still
then why have Max? Just put it on Go. Just put it on Go.
That's why, because this is, all of Warner Media stuff. It's not just HBO stuff, which is why it's weird that Warner Media named it HBO. Like, I get that you love HBO, but couldn't have this just been your, Warner Brothers specifically named streaming service that's separated from HBO's name? I don't know.
Put all the DC Universe trash on there.
But we do get some news this week on kind of the direction that HBO Max is trying to go with some of its content. And some of its content is just pay money and bring in content. You got Apple TV that only wants original content, and we talk about the struggles with them. And now we got HBO Max being willing to pay. Final numbers aren't released, but it's greater than $500 million, which was paid for the rights of South Park to be on HBO Max exclusively. Yeah. That's big money.
Yeah, that's and good for Trey and Matt. I do love those guys. They're just some regular dudes that hit it big with some cardboard cutout cartoon, and now they're like, they're getting fucking paid, and good for them. They seem like pretty level-headed guys, even though they've hit crazy Uber money status. I'm wondering how much of that 500 million Comedy Central gets, what the kind of deal is. I don't think those two are splitting 500 million wholly. I would be surprised to hear that.
No, and I think so. Comedy Central is Comedy Central a Warner Media production? I never know.
Don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was. So I thought just, but there was different rights associated with South Park that required it to be its own separate entity. But
well, and I don't know when these contracts are up, how they get renegotiated. The first episode of South Park came out when I was in fucking high school. So if they're still riding on some 1997 fucking contract, no one knew about streaming. It still might go under syndication. So like the syndication contracts that they have for like Seinfeld and all these shows that go to other channels and get rerun, they might this might be a branch of like a syndication contract, and they might not have gotten that big paycheck. They're still going to get a shit ton of money, but I don't know how this works, because with syndication, you get paid for every episode that airs. So if your show goes to syndication, it's on 5 days a week on another channel, you get paid for every day that show's on, a certain percentage. With streaming, do you get paid by how many episodes get streamed a day? Like, because
I don't know if anybody knows how these dudes make money through these things, or how they share subscription numbers. I think that's why they just pay these big contractors for the rights, and then they don't pay them shit.
There's people, they're just wearing dark blue suits and really expensive ties and don't talk to assholes like us.
Yeah.
Also with since we're on HBO 2, we record this on Monday mornings. This morning is November 4th, and the Dark Materials show starts tonight. So I will be watching that, getting ready to share some thoughts and opinions maybe next week on the podcast about that. I'm actually excited for that show.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I talked to my wife yesterday about it, and I thought she'd be excited as somebody who's like read the book series, and then she was like, meh, because she knows the shitty direction the books go. So if they follow closely, she hates the story on the back end. Like book 1 is the only thing that's good. The Golden Compass story at the beginning is the only thing that's good. And then everything on the back end she hates. So she doesn't want to get sucked into a show that she knows is going to fucking go off the rails somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that. And then episode 3 of Watchmen came out, and enough time's come by. I did not watch episode 3 last night. I'll probably watch that tonight, but I know you got some thoughts that we can go spoiler free here.
Yeah, so I mean a little bit of details, but in the group at the nerdcantina.com/community, after the first episode aired, but a lot of people were worried about how this Rorschach group was going to be portrayed in the show. And it seemed like they were going to build up a big racial tension narrative. And, a lot of...
I mean, you think? They start with the Tulsa Massacre on the first...
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's shitty of probably me to say, it's shitty of a lot of people to say, didn't know that shit was real.
I don't think... I think most people don't. Yeah, a large portion of the black community didn't know that shit was
honestly,
real.
It's kind of a shame that nobody... I had to afterwards go look it up. And like that is no shit, some crazy story of a actually pretty affluent black community that got attacked, and like literally private planes were dropping firebombs on top of black businesses to burn down the...
Yeah, that's
like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's insane.
And how is that not a part of history book?
I don't understand how
about
Tulsa's
civil rights.
Yeah, I don't understand how Tulsa's still a city, how you just don't bulldoze that fucking town and start over from scratch, one town over. Like to have that as part of your historical society, like it's fucked up, man. That was really messed up. If
you haven't seen Watchmen, in the first few minutes, we're not giving any spoilers. They set the stage by covering this, dramatizing this Tulsa massacre, following some individuals who were a part of it. But then if you're watching it, you're thinking like, oh, it's just some TV show story of racial violence with people in the 20s dropping bombs on black communities. It's like no, go look it up. This shit happened. Kind of weird. And
which good for the showrunners though to illuminate that, because like we said, I don't think anybody really knew. I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of black historians that knew and things like that, but as far as the general public goes, it was widely unknown that was a part of our history. And now there's like a lot of people know about that now, and a lot of people are able to look back on that and reflect on our shitty history as a people and as a country.
But bringing that into the show with what you talking about the Rorschach group.
Well, it's so the narrative that I got from watching The Watchmen and like where they were going to take this, Rorschach was anti-establishment, anti-authority, who watches The Watchmen. It's about, when you have one class of people policing everybody, that faction will be corrupt at some point, and it will affect the freedoms of the small people. And he was looking out for the small guy. How and why his, I guess you'd say, disciples after his death and his manifesto leaks, why that gets morphed into a white supremacist group that is fighting the police, there's white police on the police force, there's black police officers, and they morph it into, well, yeah, they're fighting authority, but it's based in racial hatred. All the white cops are race traitors. All the black cops, they're just killing for racism. And, a lot of the people in our group were like upset that's the route they decided to take, especially with the political narrative we have in society today, with all the problems we have with illuminating what I feel to be still a problem, but not as major of a problem as we would like to think if you would just follow the news and the media, why they chose to make that problem worse by using that as a narrative that really, to me, doesn't fit the original content.
So I don't worry too much about what fits the original content. I think it is even an interesting social commentary when you talk about Rorschach's message being misused. History's full of, I'm pretty sure, regardless of what your religious understandings of things are, but Jesus Christ was a person. He probably never intended on the Crusades. Probably never, you know what I mean? Like the fact that somebody's message then gets misused by radicalized groups is littered throughout history and in current history as well. So that to me doesn't actually bother me. I hope that they play on that somewhere along the way, kind of poking holes or showing flawed justifications of radicalized groups, linking back to the actual journals and the actual message of Rorschach later in the season. So I'm okay with that social commentary. I think what you were talking about with it being too topical, and it does come down to you feel it's either you are a social justice warrior and these are the things that everybody's talking about or whatever else, or you're just exhausted by it. So even a good story that's using white supremacists as a villainous group and driving towards the story, it's just exhausting before you even get there, because we have no choice. If you pay attention to anything that's going on in the social landscape, you have no choice but to get punched in the face by these exaggerated stories of racism and white supremacy. And
this just might be, my opinion, because, we are very active in what goes on in our society. Both of us pay attention to the problems of the world and what is going on in society. So when I watch shows like this and I go to the movies and I watch television, I'm not necessarily looking to continue these conversations, to continue the news cycle. If I've watched 4 hours of news throughout the day to get all what's going on in the world, and then I finally change the channel to be entertained, I don't want more news. I don't want more,
Yes, but we do. I mean, we prop up a movie like The Joker because it has a lot that could be interpreted by social commentary. You love shows like Handmaid's Tale, which 100% can be related to modern thoughts on patriarchy and
but not so directly, but not so directly intertwined with what's going on. Like Handmaid's Tale, yeah, you can draw some lines, but they're very thin, long lines that you have to draw. It's not like here's the problem that was on the news yesterday. We're gonna put it. It's like SVU when they rip from the headlines. Like, I don't want every show to be ripped from the fucking headlines. I want to be entertained. I don't mind thinking. I don't mind having some of these tones told in a story intertwined, but I don't want it so. Yeah, and especially done in a way that makes it more divisive. Like a lot of people's concern was I think they're going to take this in this white supremacist narrative, and and a lot of us were just like, it seems like that's where they might go, but let's give it a couple episodes. Let's see how this plays out, because it is cops versus anti-authoritarians. I don't see how race has to play into this to tell a good story. And then just this last week, they must have said white supremacy a dozen times, and now, it's going to be another hate group versus cops, and I don't know. It just didn't sit right. They could have took it in a way that you'd have the same story, but you didn't have to turn away a massive audience or you know, like, I don't know. It's it's not sitting right with me.
Yeah, I said I haven't seen this last episode, and I don't think I'm either way. I'm okay. I'll give it more time to develop, because I don't hate the concept of having it be a white supremacist group. Even if you just did like anti-establishment group that was just, you've got to, how do you radicalize them? And by what means do you actually radicalize them? And radicalize them in a way that is completely unsympathetic. There's no less sympathetic way today to be a bad guy group than to be a white supremacist group right now. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm hoping that they don't play.
Well, my fear is now it's going to leak into society. So the next Proud Boys fucking, you know, thing in Portland, you're going to have Antifa in all black and ski masks trying to punch a bunch of crazy white dudes in Rorschach masks now. Like I'm no Nerdstradamus in it right the fuck now. Within a month and a half, you're going to have some fat hillbilly white dude talking about, I want my country back, wearing a goddamn Rorschach mask in real life. And this is what I'm trying to avoid.
Maybe. All I know is whatever dudes had like the Halloween costume planned of being Rorschach this year, or had an old one, and they were like, oh, I'm just going to, Watchmen's out, I'm going to dust off this. Well, now that's got a different connotation. You might want to just throw that in the trash.
Insert
you might
Homer,
never want to wear.
Insert Homer Simpson gif walking back into the bush.
You might never want to put that mask on again. It's got a little different connotation now. Now that it's associated to the Rorschach group and not the superhero from the original comic.
You know, and it's like this 4chan kind of stuff too. Is Rorschach was a fun costume. It was a fun character, and now that character is out of it. I can't give anybody an OK symbol now without worrying about being labeled a fucking white supremacist. You know, I can't just, you know, like these tones are taking away things that are, you know, are part of your normal life, and now it's like, oh wait, I can't do this now because somebody wanted to appropriate it to some kind of narrative that makes no sense. Like, okay, I'm
going to give the story some more time to breathe. So I think it's not necessarily a bad. I see how this does have terrible potential to just
snowball,
go in a way that we don't want to see. But, but I mean, I'll give it time. I'm not sold off on it. Again, I've only given it 2 episodes. I haven't seen the 3rd yet, but looking forward to still seeing where it shapes out. I think the show's really well done up to this point, and has some good promise.
Yeah, some dude's gonna wear Rorschach cosplay to C2E2 or something, because that's what he dresses up every year, and some crazy liberal's gonna sucker punch him upside the fucking head for no reason.
Honestly, you got to put that shit away. Sorry about your luck. Sorry about your luck if you bought yourself if you have a bomb ass Rorschach costume that you want to wear, but you got to put that shit away now. You can't play that game.
I mean,
anymore.
They just came out with those heat activated Rorschach masks that you could buy off. Like, I've seen the Facebook ad for it. You like, as you breathe into the mask, it changes the Rorschach.
No
so you could. They got some bomb ass Rorschach masks. Like, that company's going bankrupt real fucking fast. Or they're making money from all kinds of people they don't want their money from.
All right. We've been a bit longer there than planned, but let's move on. Let's talk over what's happening over at BlizzCon. And first thing to talk about is, a couple weeks ago we beat up Blizzard to some degree. I think I was a little more kind of devil's advocate playing on the other side, just with the Hong Kong protests and the banning of players in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Essentially shutting down streamers who were demonstrating. They really went hard in the paint in, I guess, protecting or deleting any speech in support of Hong Kong. And the president of Blizzard came out at BlizzCon and, in my opinion, gave a pretty good speech about how they just screwed up. And he screwed up in their initial response, and then compounded their screw up in how long it took them to realize what they were doing.
But also did it with extreme vagaries. Like, never said the words Hong Kong. never said the words China. Like,
Yeah.
you know, hey, there was this thing that happened and we're not really happy about how we handled it. So we're going to do this thing a little differently next time if it ever happens again. Don't Google me. That's pretty much how they handled it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He didn't address specifically Hong Kong, but everybody knew what he was talking about. And I don't know. There's always a way to look at these things in a cynical light and just say that, you know, this. Well, of course they did this because they're just trying to not have a riot at their convention, and they're trying to just, you know, move on with this. I felt that this one was a bit sincere.
Yeah, well, this goes to the meme I made for the Nerd Cantina Instagram of the squinty eye fry. Not quite sure if I should back the country that allows the video game or back the people that buy the video game. You know, I don't like, they're in that kind of tough spot. So this is them trying to appease both.
Yeah, but I felt, like I said, I felt there was some sincerity in his apology. I felt it did address enough of what happened, and he's now vowing to staunchly support free speech and allowed for at BlizzCon there were demonstrations in support of the Hong Kong protest, at which were allowed, and in no way was he continuing down that path. So maybe it's behind Blizzard. Maybe they'll move forward from it. And like I said, I never passed significant judgment or harsh judgment on their decisions. They were put in a potentially no-win situation, and they tried to handle it the best possible. And now they're realizing that maybe they could have handled it better, but still in the moment was a difficult spot they were in.
Well, and then along with that, they had some actual gaming news they had to announce. It wasn't just a public apology convention. So you get WoW's next expansion pack was announced. Diablo 4 they released a cinematic trailer for, and then Overwatch 2 is another big one that they released and gave actually a decent amount of details for Overwatch 2. Makes me think that that's coming out pretty soon. I would imagine maybe by the holiday.
I was gonna say I didn't. That's the one thing I didn't catch was a release date for that there. But yeah, it's you know we like Overwatch here at the Nerd Cantina, and it's definitely an interesting Overwatch 2 that they get. You get a story mode out of it, maybe a little co-op play, as well as their traditional, you know, player versus player.
So yeah, they just we just wrapped up the holiday event for Halloween in Overwatch. So they do that Junkenstein's Revenge where it's 4-player versus a bunch of NPCs. They're going to expand on that, I think, so that you have that option year round. You don't have to just wait for these holiday events. They're going to have a story mode, you know, so all the cinematics that they release on YouTube and things like that, I think you're going to be able to play through some kind of story. They definitely want to expand the PvE aspect of Overwatch over, you know, and still keep up with the PvP. One thing I was excited to hear is that all your skins, all the things that you unlocked in Overwatch 1 will carry over to Overwatch 2. So you don't have to worry about that, you know, the amount of money you spent on loot boxes going away. I was always wondering how they were going to roll out a 2, because they've done a great job with their business model, in my opinion. I paid $60 for the game the week the game came out. I've never had to spend another dollar, and they've kept giving me new characters, new maps, updates, holiday events. They've kept the game fresh without sucking another $100 out of my wallet in the last 3 years, which I have great respect for. That, you know, we talk about how Fortnite kind of changed the video gaming model for a lot of companies. I think Overwatch did a service too, and just said, look, you bought the game. We want you to keep playing the game. You shouldn't have to keep paying us to keep playing the game. Here's 2 new maps. Here's a new tank. Here's some updated competitive rules. Here's, you know, like So I wasn't sure how they were going to roll out a 2, given the fact that they have constantly updated that game every couple months for the last 3 years. But this makes sense, you know. maybe get some better graphics because they can update the UI and the engine. I'm gonna buy it the week it comes out. Given their track record with how the first one was, I'll buy it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you ready to move into some tech?
Yeah, really, I didn't watch too much of the BlizzCon convention. Usually, I watch the replays or these conventions live. I had a pretty busy weekend, so I just kind of took the cliff notes and. That's basically all I got.
Well, we can go to first tech news, and that was just articles you shared with me regarding these electric car batteries and some potential significant improvements in charging times, making hopefully electric cars, I guess, more palatable for the public. The current charging times that it takes is one of the negatives that kind of sets a lot of people back from fully supporting that.
So I own my own electrical company, and I have installed, I'd say, probably around 20 240 volt high ampage Tesla outlets for Tesla chargers for customers. And I've talked to a lot of it because it interests me, so I never really got to drive one or knew much about it. So I talked to all these customers, and then recently a friend had bought a Tesla and I installed the outlet for him, and I see him regularly. So I'm constantly, every time I see him, I'm asking questions about how their software updates work, about how this works, how that works. How's he like driving it now with the recent snow we had? Hey, how's it handling the snow? What's the traction control like? And I actually got to ride in it, and I fell in love with the Tesla car. This is huge for electric car viability in itself, as well as for Tesla owners and buyers. So the current standard is about a 7-hour charge to get around 400 miles for your Tesla. So as long as you can charge it overnight while you're sleeping, you're usually good, but the big fear for people to switch over from gas to electric is, what if I want to go on a road trip? What if I'm a lazy shit and I forget to charge my car and I don't want to be stranded anywhere? They have just developed a lithium ion battery that is able to fully charge in 10 minutes, which is a huge leap. And makes now electric cars so much more viable and so much, to put those worries at ease. And they do it by superheating the battery prior to charge. So the batteries have to be hot in order to take these charges. So towards the end of the charge for the Tesla 2 is, the battery's been at a high elevated heat for a number of hours now, puts more wear and tear on the battery. The last 20% is the hardest to actually get into the battery because it's been so hot for so long. They're able to superheat these batteries really fast, get all that energy in there in 10 minutes, and then you're done. So that also increases the wear or decreases the wear and tear on those batteries. So I want to say they think that you get about 80 full charges out of a current Tesla. The newest batteries, if they were to put those in the Teslas, you'd get about 500. So before your battery goes out, your Tesla would hit around 500,000 miles before you would need a new battery system, which is huge. You ain't getting $500,000 out of no combustion engine. I don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah, it is huge. Like I said, it helps make the industry. I'm looking forward to my future electric vehicle, and the vast majority of people driving electric vehicles. I think it is the natural progression of things, and one of the things that just has to be figured out is either drastically improved battery capacity, or drastically reduce charging times where it's not that, it's not significantly more difficult to do than just getting a tank of gas. And this is a start. There's also a company that I watched a video a little while ago, and it's on some company in India, ran by some two like young college dropouts that are just focused on developing new batteries that aren't tethered either to lithium ion, because right now we were talking about the recharging of lithium ion batteries. There's some guys trying to develop like supercapacitors using graphite, which is a a much lighter material, like a carbon-based material that they're getting some initial good results, which would drastically reduce the weight, the potential charge capacity, and definitely way faster charging than lithium ion. So, once we start to really weight kind of research and technological development, so India as a country is trying to drive towards this because they look at battery manufacturing as like I think they said it was like a $300 billion industry in the future. So they're trying to find a more sustainable way. Lithium ion has its dangers. It's pretty volatile. If in car wrecks and everything else, it's a volatile battery. Whereas graphite and some other technology may be less if they can kind of get it up to that charging capacity of what lithium ion is now. So some serious technological innovation coming that way.
To address the dangers, yes, lithium-ion batteries are volatile and can be dangerous, but at the same time, for the last 100 years, we had no problem strapping 30 gallons of fucking gasoline to our backs and driving at 100 miles an hour. So let's take this risk-reward ratio into perspective a little bit, okay?
Yeah, you gotta hope if you're moving into new technology, you're going to do it with something that you want to develop it in a way that it is sustainable, and not to mention the way you're building these lithium ion batteries also has its own.
I'm just saying,
and environmental concerns.
If we started with electric and somebody was trying to sell us on combustion engines, you can make a really good argument that I don't know if this is that safe. We're going to have 8 cylinders that have tiny explosions at a high rate, strapped with 30 gallons of highly flammable gasoline in the back. Like, I don't think that's such a good idea. Yet we drive those fuckers every day.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not. Like I said, but that's not a reason to me to not seek a better alternative. So I think what it just goes to show that we're starting to put some significant effort and research into this, which hopefully all translates to greater capacity, faster charging times, and then a greater prevalence.
I'll be a really happy man once we shift over to electric. The amount of potential there is, especially when you get charging times down to like 10 minutes, is even faster than I had initially thought of. So, my goal was if we could have got full charges to like half an hour. You would end up starting to see shopping centers built around charging stations. So you just park, charge your car, get a quick lunch, go sit in a Starbucks, do some work on a laptop. If you could have got it within that half hour to 10 minute range, you're going to see like mini economies built up around where you charge your car, just like how we have gas stations with convenience stores. The convenience store part of the gas station would end up being expanded to accommodate wait times for these chargers to actually get you to a full charge. So I think there's great economic opportunity there. I will be a really happy man once we switch over to electric, and anything that science is doing to get us to that point faster, I get really excited about.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe one day we have like replaceable batteries. You just pull up to a charge station, they just pop your battery out, put a new one in there, and then they charge it on a shelf somewhere.
Well, just like how we have now, you can plug your cell phone into somebody else's cell phone and take a charge from them. You run out of electric on the side of the road, somebody else can pull up and give you 20 miles, 30 miles to get you to the next stop by just a tethered adapter from Tesla to Tesla. Like, there's not a person that I know that owns a Tesla, or a customer that I know that owns a Tesla, that doesn't absolutely fucking love it. Like, absolutely fucking love it. Thinks other cars are archaic and stupid at this point once they got in it. And I'm sorry, I have to agree. Like, I just don't see, Elon's coming out with a pickup truck soon, so he's going to take on all these the pickup truck, the ball hitch pickup guys, they're all gonna be personally attacked now by Tesla, because I'm sorry, the amount of torque you're gonna get from an electric engine, no combustion engine can match. None. So they're gonna lose on torque, they're gonna lose on towing power, they're gonna lose on wear and tear. like mileage. It's going to be so your big dually truck that burns diesel at an ungodly rate and puts all kinds of shit into the air. You're out, pal. You're fucking out.
Yeah, I was just talking to a buddy. I'm looking forward to, my kid's first car potentially being some used electric vehicle. A decade from now, maybe it's pretty feasible to think that, hey, it's going to be prevalent enough that even cheap asses like me, they're going to be building them cheap enough once they figure out these battery things. Because right now, it doesn't make sense that an electric vehicle is more expensive than a combustion engine vehicle. There's way less to it. There's no transmissions. There's no, the engines are simpler.
Yeah.
It's a fucking go-kart. The problem is right now the battery is more than half the cost of the manufacturing
and what
of the
I
car.
thought was crazy when I first heard it, when I talked to my buddy after he bought it, he's like, I didn't buy the most expensive version. I think he paid like $38,000 for his Model S, which is very affordable. To me, that's a very affordable brand new car. There's plenty of cars in the $32,000 to $40,000 range.
I'm gonna disagree with that affordable. I'm gonna hold out for actual affordability.
We all know how your wallet works, but if you look at sedans of the same size, it's competitive. It's a competitive price, especially when you figure in the fact that you don't have to buy gas anymore. What powers the vehicle is a fraction of the cost. Never get an oil change again. And they don't make so as you can buy, the Cadillac base for 42, or you could buy the fully loaded Cadillac for 75. Tesla's the same, but if you buy the base model, you're not locked out of the fully loaded. For Tesla, it's all software upgrades. So if you didn't buy the 4-wheel drive Tesla and you just got the 2-wheel drive Tesla, you can wait a year, pay I think he said it was like $6,000 upgrade, and Tesla downloads the software patch in to give you 4-wheel drive.
Isn't that some bullshit though?
No, I love it. I love it. Because
I love it. I love the concept that's like, no, we actually aren't doing anything different. The only thing we're doing is withholding some code for your fucking like.
But so that to me all that means is that $6,000 price point is going to get smaller and smaller as we shift to electric and more people are buying electric cars. So right now it's
I still think that's shitty. But
I mean, there's two ways to look at it.
It's like buying the new iPhone, and it's like, well, the iPhone, this iPhone only costs you $500, but if you want to pay extra $300, we're just going to unlock shit that's already in your iPhone so you can use it.
So you're talking about the company that blocks your battery, so you have to buy a new iPhone? Are we talking about that company?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the world, man. This is the world we're in. And I see that upgrade going really cheap once electric cars become more prevalent in our society.
I'm looking forward to my Nissan Leaf. I mean, I'd love a Tesla, but I'm never going to drop $30,000 on a Tesla. So I'll look forward to my Nissan, Ford, whatever thing gets down to that $12,000 entry level sedan. I'm there. I'm there for that.
No, I mean, yeah, if that's the route you want to go. I like a little luxury. I want to play Cuphead while I'm parked.
All right. Well, we got to move here. We're getting long. We've got another dense topic that I know we'll end up talking a bit about, and that we can say in more tech news. We got Jack Dorsey going on a little bit of a tweet sesh on how Twitter is going to ban all political ads within within Twitter altogether. Nobody buying political ads can buy space or do targeted advertising through Twitter. It also is kind of interesting that he makes that announcement on the within hours of the Facebook earnings call. Just kind of poke at the big brother over there and just steal a little bit of his thunder as he's announcing his earnings call, and then Twitter steals the headlines by banning political ads.
So
what are your thoughts?
I'm actually happy that they're trying to police themselves a little bit now that they're recognizing the problem with misinformation in politics and social media. There was really no easy way to handle this other than just banning political ads, to track who's paying for political ads and take them down once they've already kind of done the harm of being out there. Even if the political ad's only out there for an hour, you're still talking access to tens of thousands, if not millions of people, depending on who tweeted it and what they spent. So in order to get election interference and misinformation out there, I think the easiest thing to do is just say, well, fuck it, we're just not going to have any of them. And I think they're doing it as kind of a preemptive measure before the government starts regulating them. So I think they're trying to avoid government regulation. And this is them saying, okay, no, we're not just going to not acknowledge a problem and wait for you guys to try to fucking handle it. We'll acknowledge a problem, and here's what we're going to do to remedy it.
So, one of the things that I initially just thought was interesting was we've now got these major tech companies that are too big for government to regulate. But these tech companies are now able to regulate campaign finance law and campaign, like they're regulating the government and what the government's use of tech companies are going to be. Meanwhile, the government can't touch the tech companies and tell them how to manage these things or what to do. It's kind of an interesting
it's an interesting dynamic.
I wasn't completely sold on this. I get why I do. He put in his initial tweet that they're making the decision to stop all political advertising on Twitter globally, and they believe that a political message reach should be earned, not bought. And then it really just comes down to I question to some degree what that whole concept of that it should be earned, not bought. Well, some of that bought is bought through the earnings that they have, right? You look at some campaigns, and there's plenty of grassroots campaigns and things that exist. When you talk about globally, and you talk about not just the presidential election, you talk about, say, local elections and stuff like that. Well, these people are doing fundraising that are not funded by, in the presidential election, we're talking about super PACs and we're talking about corporate interests, but we're not talking about that necessarily at the local levels. And Twitter's a great opportunity for them to advertise within a local community through micro-targeting that Twitter allows to target their constituents. And that's through earned money that they raised potentially through their community. Now, how the hell do they go earn their message to be heard by people?
I'm not going to deny that there isn't some loss to this, but is the loss equivalent to the gains that we'll have in our political atmosphere? So yeah, there's going to be some little guys, like the Andrew Yangs might not get the steam as fast. Social media had a big deal with Bernie's popularity. And even Trump's popularity, if it wasn't for social media and things like that, he wouldn't have gotten the base that he had. So there is some loss there, but at the same time, we have to be able to know that the people that are advertising are who they say they are, that their goals are beneficial to our national interests. There's a lot of weird situations, and I honestly think that this was the only way to really kind of take a one, big giant axe measure to remedy especially with 2020 coming soon. So maybe they do this now and then they revamp it throughout the next couple years to make it better. But with the 2020 election literally a year away, I want to say that tomorrow is National Voting Day. So there's going to be a lot of local elections and things like that, depending on where you live. Tomorrow, you're going to be able to vote. So we are literally 1 year away from the next presidential election. So I think they're just really trying to take the blame off them for fucking up the country.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I understand it. And at the same point, I guess I just wish there was a better approach or a better system, something that is more as far
and
as
I hope they figure that out. Yeah, I hope they figure that out.
than an outright ban. I don't like a tech company. I don't care, again, I get it. They're a platform, whatever else, but they are in the news business. A lot of people get their news. A lot of people get, you have to be capable of, politicians have to be capable of speaking to the public where the public exists.
Well, they're not going to ban like your personal political Twitter,
No.
So if you amass a couple hundred Twitter thousand followers, you can still say whatever you want to your Twitter followers and stuff. You're just not going to be able to take targeted ads that your people that don't follow you are going to be able to see, but someone can still retweet you to their followers that don't necessarily follow you. You're not necessarily blackballed from getting an audience on Twitter, but
again, if I'm running for, Ohio General Assembly and I'm running for a state politician, some state office, I don't have followers. I may just be a random person who's motivated. Well,
I mean, with this being announced, you better get on that shit. You better get on that shit. You better. It's going to be a new social media plan. You're going to have a different plan as to your social media outreach.
We're just locking into more of just shitty ads ran on broadcast TV, which nobody's watching anymore, and. Like I said, I think.
Yeah, but at least we know those aren't being paid in rubles.
Maybe, right?
I mean, that's what came out with a lot of that Facebook stuff. It was ungodly how Facebook had no problem running political ads that were paid for in fucking rubles. Like, you want to talk about a red flag? That's got the red flag with a skith and stars on it. Like holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was definitely done poorly. And I'm not saying that there isn't change that needs to be made, both on the tech companies and the way they allow things, as well as like campaign finance law and what our politicians are allowed to do as well. I think there's ways to relook at all of this, but I don't like to see a massive ban. I don't like to see single individuals or companies make decisions on how politicians in the United States and globally can communicate with their constituents, can try to establish relationships with constituents, because not every political ad is divisive. Not every political ad is an attack, and not every political ad, sometimes you want to just boost your own post, your own Twitter account in order to build that following, in order to have
and
change.
I think they'll figure that out. But as for now, so when Twitter first kind of came to fruition, it was just an open field, and trees and weeds and all the good and the bad just kind of grew out from it. And they recognize that they have this nasty problem that they have to deal with. So this is them just plowing the land again, in the hopes of growing a more organized garden instead of this infestation of a forest of information. So I am hopeful that this is a step in the right direction. It's not the answer per se, but I definitely think with another presidential election literally a year away, yes, cut the head off the beast. And then let's regroup. Okay, so what are the bad things about us doing this? Okay, how do we fix those? What were the good things about us doing this? Let's keep pushing those. Let's see how we can make those better. And in the next 2-3 years, we will have a better system for protecting American interests and our democracy without exposing ourselves and leaving ourselves vulnerable to a lot of the problems.
And it's not just American interest too. I mean, they do have to have a global focus.
It's not even
dictators and stuff using social media campaigns in other countries to further suppressing their own nation states. But does this put pressure on Facebook to do something similar? Facebook has already announced in the last couple of weeks that they're doing Facebook News, where they're going to have their own section of Facebook that is curated in the sense that it's all going to be verified true news, supposedly in a kind of nonpartisan way, non-biased way, that they're just going to have news feeds that can state this is real, this is a source, this is a vetted article and source, and kind of having their own like court of individuals that vote on whether these things.
Yeah, they're
going to
have like a journalistic division if they're they're
And so Facebook is going that route. Who knows what they're going to do with ad campaigns, but they're trying to create some clarity in news and bring some trust back into what you see on their platform. And then, do they need to do something similar? Ban ads? Do they need to follow suit? With
well,
Twitter,
if they don't ban ads, they at least need to vet who is paying for the ads, who is, if the ad comes from the super PAC or if it comes from a legitimate organization that is known to support political ideologies, if it actually comes from a campaign or not, they're going to have to do their own regulation. But I'm just glad that these companies, it hasn't come to government regulation yet. And I think that's their only motivation is they're trying to avoid government regulation. They know it's around the corner. If Trump loses in 2020, for goddamn sure, those things are coming down the pipeline. So this is them saying, I think saying like flat out, look, guys, we're handling it. Like, just give us some breathing room. Quit summoning us to appear in front of Congress. We don't talk to you people very well. It doesn't ever help our stock to be sitting in front of a bunch of senators in the House of Reps. So quit atting me, and we're gonna take care of this. Just give us some time.
It's a difficult situation. It really is. The kind of where does policing speech end, and where does responsible journalistic integrity or responsible speech got to begin there? It's tough. And then I mean, we're already pushing late, but another thing we want to talk about while we're on this Facebook side is you get one beautiful thing about Snowden writing this book is that it's forced him, some publishers and whatever else, forced him to do this press circuit, which Snowden, regardless whether you believe what he did was justified, was appropriate, whether he should be in jail, whether he's a Russian spy. I don't care what anybody believes on this stuff. What you have to agree on is it's fascinating. And the guy's fascinating. He's incredibly intelligent. And doing this press circuit that he's been doing, whether, on Joe Rogan and, the
morning shows
from... Yeah, and this later article's from a podcast, the Decode Recode podcast, and he talks in there, and it's like a little snippet that got picked up that he stated that Facebook is just as bad as the NSA. They are as untrustworthy as the NSA. So he was a whistleblower against the NSA, but if you think Facebook isn't just as dangerous, then he believes you're wrong. They have essentially the same model as NSA, that they are trying to just create a perfect profile of everybody in the world. They want to perfectly know your behaviors, your intentions, your biases, so that way they can monetize it and use it. And it's exactly what NSA is attempting to do.
Yeah, this article and the next topic with Facebook we're going to talk about really got me wanting to go straight Unabomber. And live in the woods and grow a shaggy beard, disconnect from everything. Like,
we can't go straight Unabomber.
Well, all the way up until the bomber part. Like, I'll go Una.
Thank you.
I'll go Una. You could drop the bomber, but I'm definitely gonna go into the woods and disconnect at this point, because it is scary how much they want to know about you. And it's not just Facebook, it's Google is doing the same thing. You are being conditioned to be a cog in the wheel, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost unavoidable at this point. It is tough to get by, and he's not wrong. You know what I mean? Like when he points these things out, he's not wrong, and it's not exclusive to Facebook. Google's doing the same thing. Amazon's doing the same thing. The monetization and weaponization of our metadata, of really who we are and what our behaviors are. It's only going to get more intrusive and stronger.
So just as dangerous as Facebook is with all your information as you use it, Google is just as bad. Facebook put in an offer to buy Fitbit for $2 billion. and Google beat them out for 2.1.
It's $2.1 billion that Google bought Fitbit.
So now you have all my biometric information to coincide with your ad placements, with your, so you can see that I was reading a Gmail at 1:42 p.m. and at 1:42 p.m. my heart rate spiked 10 beats per minute, and I only had 4 hours sleep that night before, and and the amount of information and things that they're going to be able to quantify with knowing your health biometrics, along with the millions of data points that they collect already. It's fucking scary, man. It's really fucking scary. I won't do the DNA test because, look, I don't need you. I use a Fitbit. My Fitbit just broke. I was going to get a new one. I doubt I'm going to get a new one now because my thought was always the more you're aware of your health, the more proactive you will probably be into being healthier. So if you know you're overweight, if you know you're not burning a certain amount of calories a day, if you know these numbers, you're more likely to actually do something about them. Whereas if you don't wear a Fitbit and you just live in fat laziness bliss, you can just tell yourself you're healthier, it's not that bad, and go about your life. So I've always been a supporter of knowing your health biometrics, but I don't want these people to have them. It's my information. It's for me. And that's the problem is we no longer have, and we shouldn't have faith. We now know that Google will use this information. It's not a matter of if they will, or are they just going to leave Fitbit as just a subsidiary that they're going to make money off of? No, they're not. Yeah. They're going to use this information. You're going to link your Google account with your Fitbit account, and then it's going to be doing its regular updates, and it's going to track where you are. Your phone's already tracking where you're going, when you're going, things, and Google's tracking that. Yeah, with Google bought Nest, so they know what temperature my house is. They know when my smoke alarms go off. They know when I'm home. Yeah. This is what I think is unavoidable for government regulation. Is they might be able to skate by some regulation by limiting ads and things like that, but the collection of data undoubtedly needs to be government regulated by consumer advocate branches of our government. It's ungodly the amount of you can, as a human, you can't even quantify what they know about you. You can't wrap your head around it.
It would be surprising to just have Google spit out a report of everything that it knows about us over the last 30 days. It would be absolutely shocking to know. I mean, they could probably tell you, well, you're thinking about buying this. You've been thinking about doing this. This is what you have done. This is whatever else. And it's like, fuck, you're right. 100%. Yeah, everything you just said about not only what I've done, but what I intend to do is 100% correct.
It's like clutch your nightgown, kind of like, I don't feel safe anymore.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's only going to get worse. We'll talk. We're hoping to have some security Cantina conversations coming up on network security and internet security. So hopefully we'll bring some skills and some things in place that maybe you could do to protect yourself. But in the end, if you exist on the internet, you're being tracked, and we'll see. We'll see if the government or somebody can step in and advocate for the people to at least make it to where we can not just be victims of it, but in some way be protected or benefit from it.
And partly, I'm a big supporter of UBI. If we're ever going to move towards a UBI society, this is what should be funding it. If you're going to fucking take all my data points and make billions of dollars off my data points, I should be getting a monthly check for that. There's a lot of people that have the mindset of, well, what do I care? I don't do anything wrong. What do I care what they know? What do I care what they know? You should care about the monetary value they're extracting from you. Your daily life has a monetary value. You wouldn't just have a hole in your pocket, dropping quarters along the street everywhere you go, you'd get a new pair. You'd get a new pair of fucking pants. You know,
it's kind of like in the 1990s, and everybody's shopping at the mall. If there were people on cameras watching everywhere you walked in that mall, and not just watch where you walk, but watch like how long your eyes lingered on an individual item, and then tracked every single thing, we'd all think that's the creepiest fucking thing in the world, and you know, that's an active measure of gathering our data. Well, now it's just been so easy to passively gather this data, but it's all the same. It's the exact same. If a marketing company was doing that to us,
stores are putting in cameras to see how long your eyes are looking at certain products, and you know, for marketing tools, like these are all real life things, and they're able to do it without you knowing, because they spend.
I'm saying, if it was an active person doing it, we would have been up in arms in the 90s when the technology didn't exist.
Karen.
Now the technology
Karen in the blue vest with a clipboard just following you around, and with a stopwatch and a pen and a clipboard. You know,
we would all have lost our mind about it. But now it's passive for technology to do this. It's no less intrusive. It just we I guess just have an ability to just forget about it or just deal with it.
Yeah, to me, the big point is that as you walk down the street, you are essentially shedding pennies all over the earth. And Google and Facebook and Twitter and all these companies are scooping up those pennies and gaining more and more power. You know, money is power. They're just gaining more and more power for us to be able to stop these things, or us to be able to mitigate some of this stuff, because we're just oblivious to the amount of pennies that we're just shedding off our backs as we just live and eat and breathe. You know, and I'm sorry, I want my fucking pennies. I want my fucking pennies. Like, that's fine. I'm still going to use, I'm never going to unplug from technology. It's too much intertwined into my life, but I'll be damned if I'm going to be okay with giving you all this shit for free. Like, my free Gmail account is not a fair trade for what Google is fucking taking from me. So you need to fucking pony up something. And if it comes in the form of UBI, I'm fine with that. I'm all good with that.
All right. Well, it's been a while since we've done an episode this long. We went, had some dense topics today, and got through a lot of the nerd news, and I think it's time to call it a close for the week. And as always, want to thank you for listening. I think this week we're going to encourage you to join us over at Patreon and support the Nerd Cantina. What we're doing here is incredibly important to Steve and I's life now, as this is hopefully something bigger than a hobby, and hopefully we're bringing in again. We've shifted really this podcast into this collision of social topics and nerd culture, and we love having these conversations. We love bringing you the news and a bit of commentary, and having these conversations that we continue to have. The support of Patreon enables us to do that, whether it's $1 or $5. We greatly appreciate it. We'll also begin.
No, and you know what we're trying to do here is get that little hamster in your head spinning too. You know, so I love when we get feedback from people listening to the show that have their own opinions on these topics that they might not have formed, you know, until they heard us talking about them. It actually shocks me as to how many people listen to the show and don't know a lot of the things that we're talking about. So it is very rewarding to be kind of doing that Cory Doctorow service that we talked about in his Cantina conversation. You know, me and Ken aren't going to write any code, and we're broke as shit. So all we could do is try to raise awareness. So that's what we're doing out here, is we're trying to take the culture that we love, that we all love, and just talk about how it plays into our daily lives.
All right. Well, you can find us again at Patreon. Just look for the Nerd Cantina. So patreon.com/the Nerd Cantina. Support us, and you'll be greatly appreciated, as well as be delivered some unique content that is available only to Patreon members as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to record a little comic book section this week for Patreon with our Cantina buddy Stu. I just got done reading House and Powers of X. I think we're gonna do a spoiler-filled review of that whole storyline for all our comic nerds out there and put it up on Patreon.
All right. Well, with all that said, thanks again, and that wraps up episode 45 of the Nerd Cantina Show. Talk to you next week.
See you, nerds.
Hey guys, Snow here. I just wanted to give a real quick
Snow, what are you doing?
Grog, I'm in the middle of
I
something.
can see that. Wait a minute. Microphone, headset, script. Are you recording the new promo?
Yes, Grog, I was recording the new promo.
Well, without me, but I'm the master of toast. Plus, I've been practicing.
Okay, fine. You can help. I'll read the script. Just chime in when you feel like you have something important to say.
Yes!
Hi guys, Snow here.
And Grog.
I just wanted to give a real quick introduction to our podcast, Missing Role Player Found. We are an actual play Pathfinder podcast following the adventures of the Odd Guild.
That's my guild.
We were all living our normal lives until we tried the latest MMORPG.
And that's when we found out we were all trapped in the game and we could die. Oh, but don't worry. We still find plenty of time to have fun. Sometimes a little too much fun, if you know what I mean.
Yes, Grog, I think we all do. And that's why it took us so long to finish the last floor.
Hey, that one wasn't my fault.
Any of that sound interesting? Why don't you check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found?
Nailed it.